Our policy is one which is called by an Afrikaans word apartheid. And I'm afraid that has been misunderstood so often.
You hear that? Straight from the man himself, the architect of apartheid. I also believe the word is being deliberately misunderstood in today's age. In this video, I investigate the international plot to trivialize the atrocities.
I mean, look at the Washington Monument. It is 555 feet above the ground and 111 feet below the ground. 555 plus 111 is 666. 666, Bobby. 666.
So, I am on Google, the frontier home of the internet where we all visit to learn about new things. And I search for the pronunciation of the word that describes the racialized segregation that took place in South Africa until 31 years ago. This is what Google says the word is pronounced.
Apartheid.
We also have the American pronunciation.
Apartheid.
Except this is not how the word is pronounced. And continuing to pronounce it like that, I believe, makes light of the crimes against humanity that were committed by the previous South African government. I also believe there are governments in the West who put a lot of resources into this internationalized sacrilegious pronunciation. So, what is the correct pronunciation of the letters Apartheid? It's simply apartheid. I say this as someone with authority on the matter. I'm a first-generation descendant of the survivors of apartheid. My parents were born during apartheid and they have never referred to that system in any other pronunciation but apartheid. And I believe that is an important distinction.
The Dutch Reformed Church believes in apartheid. Every nation has its own place in God's plan, according to the Bible. We believe that they must be evangelized, and everyone that is born again, he knows his place as a native or a colored. Get the native to believe in Jesus Christ, and you have met your problem halfway. Then he is obedient, trustworthy, and your real help and friend. And then he learns to love his master. The master again will be kind and appreciating if he knows the same Lord.
You see, apartheid was a very brutal system where the white people fundamentally believed they were better than the indigenous population of the place now known as South Africa. I mean, some do still believe this, but thankfully, they are no longer explicitly in control of the government. The hidden problem is that when you pronounce it as apartheid instead of apartheid, it may seem insignificant, but it loses its meaning entirely. There's a hard R sound in the actual pronunciation, and that hard R makes the word what it is. It gives a lot of gravitas to the actual crimes suffered by the indigenous people of South Africa. Just listen to these two sentences for me and tell me which one you would associate with crimes against humanity. Vincent did not invite me to his wedding, and that's apartheid. Vincent did not invite me to his wedding, and that's apartheid. Well, the answer is obvious, and if you disagree, well, I believe it's time we consider that you have been conditioned to think of apartheid as apartheid. I believe Western nations have poured limitless resources into inventing this new meaningless pronunciation of the word. It may seem uncalled for, and you may argue that the hard R is difficult for most English speakers, but I am about to show you irrefutable evidence that points to state interference.
The women have long been more militant in their resistance to apartheid laws in South Africa than have been their menfolk.
You hear that?
And in Nell's phrase,
This clip is over 50 years old. A British journalist calls it apartheid. You can tell he may have had trouble pronouncing the hard R, which is understandable. But how do we move from that pronunciation to this one where a South African on an international platform pronounces it as...
For 28 years, South Africans had been living under apartheid, a strict policy of segregation that...
There is a night and day difference between the two. Now, if you still have any doubts, let me put you at ease. Here is another man, F.W. de Klerk, the last president under apartheid. It doesn't get more knowledgeable than this. He is someone who presided over the system. Here is how he says the word.
Apologizing for the pain and the indignity that apartheid has inflicted on all people of color in South Africa.
Disputing de Klerk on how apartheid must be pronounced is like insisting your father doesn't know how to properly pronounce your name. Despite all of this, the Western establishment has decided they don't care about the pain people have suffered. However, they like to blather about apartheid and how its effects remain prominent in South African society.
A symbol of post-apartheid South Africa is the legacy of an apartheid system. Apartheid further expanded the policies of white domination,
otherwise known as apartheid. Apartheid, you've heard of it, but what exactly was it?
The apartheid era of white minority rule.
To them, it's just a game. They do it to fill programming slots. Deliberately or not, they fail to realize that it's virtually impossible to adequately convey the brutality of apartheid without the hard R. It's all in the hard R. People have died for this, and when you erase the hard R, you render their sacrifices pointless. So, who benefits from the delusion of the word? Well, the people responsible. You see, apartheid was just a natural next step from the colonial system set up by the British Empire. The UK government wants you to forget. They want you to think it was not that bad. Just a little bit of apartheid. The United States government also supported apartheid. They only jumped ship when it became less beneficial to do so. They have since distanced themselves from their past actions. They also want you to forget. They want you to think it was not that bad. It was just a little bit of apartheid. We are currently living in a world where apartheid continues to thrive in occupied Palestine. It is enabled and endorsed by the aforementioned countries, the United States and the United Kingdom. Countless international organizations have declared it apartheid, and well-meaning activists have very much sought to shine light on this very issue.
That would be correct. That would be correct. And I just, I want to add two things to that. The first thing is this. I know this word apartheid, is harsh, and it's one that
It's fraught.
Yeah, it attracts a lot of debate. I don't want people to think that I'm just throwing, that around casually. It was not just what I observed.
Except even with their good intentions, they fail to convey the scale of the cruelty by omitting the hard R in their interviews and talks. This only works in Israel's favor. It can commit apartheid and nobody bats an eye. The United States and the United Kingdom like it that way. They have bastardized the word and extricated the connotation of violence from it entirely. So, if you consider yourself anti-apartheid, start pronouncing it correctly and reject the Western imperialist pronunciation. It starts with you.